This is Bumper to Bumper Radio, the car show. Drive in anxious and cruise out confident. With the best automotive information for your vehicle. Bumper to Bumper, helping you and your car feel better. And now your hosts, Matt Allen and Dave Riccio.
Good morning, everyone. It's another happy Saturday here at Bumper to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio, here along with the bald Matt Allen. And we are your KTAR car guys, heard here every Saturday from 11 to noon, right here on News Talk 92.3 KTAR. At Bumper to Bumper Radio, we are helping you, the motoring public, have a better overall car experience. If you've got car questions, we promise to have answers, so we encourage you to give us a call at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. And if we don't have answers, we're going to make something up anyway. You can also text your questions to 411-923. Today on the Bumper to Bumper Roadmap, Santa's Automotive Enthusiast Top 10 Christmas Gifts. Open phones. Are you going on a road trip in 2 weeks?
We're kicking off our fun old-fashioned family Christmas by heading out into the country in the old front-wheel drive sleigh to embrace the frosty majesty of the winter landscape and select that most important of Christmas symbols.
You know, we're all getting in the car here in 2 weeks. We're getting in the car, we're driving cross country, and, the last thing I want to see is someone roll in the shop on that Friday and say, hey, can I get an oil change? Or that Tuesday.
Well, Dave, we're already starting to see a little bit of that at my shop on, I think it was Thursday night, 4:30, we get the frantic call from the side of the road. The woman, they're on their way from California to Show Low, Pine Top Lakeside, something like that. They're by the airport exit. They're broken down already. Can we get in today? Well, it's 4:30. It takes an hour for the tow truck. These people got lucky. They got into the shop at 5:45, and thankfully the only problem with their car was some loose hose clamps. They had the hoses replaced over the summertime. The upper radiator hose was loose, lost the coolant, caused the car to overheat. They didn't do any damage, but they didn't probably have their car looked at, I'm guessing,
before the road trip,
before they left town. And that's something that we need to be doing, because you don't want to be in that position on the side of the road like they were. They got lucky.
If you're not a do-it-yourselfer and you know you need to get in the shop before you go on this vacation or this over the hill and through the woods thing to Grandma's house.
It's over the river, isn't it?
I don't
through
know.
The woods?
I don't know all these things. But you want to get in the shop Monday. So this is a reminder. Monday, get to the shop. If you don't have a shop, good shop. Bumpertobumperradio.com is a place to go, but you want to check out now. You don't want to find out or get a repair 2 days before you leave town or even the evening before.
Well, it's part of planning the trip. And you make your airline reservations months in advance. You let mom or dad or Aunt Betsy or whoever it is know that you're coming and you're doing your shopping and got the menu going. Don't forget about the car. Like you said, plan it. Because what we don't want to see is, and it's every mechanic's nightmare and shop owner too. Somebody comes in, and we always get the phone calls, I need an oil change, I need this. When are you leaving? Tomorrow. I don't want to be the last one to work on that car. We want to have a week. Chances are nothing's going to go wrong, but when Mr. Murphy starts working here in the wintertime and you're going on a trip somewhere, it's bound to that when something could possibly go wrong, that would be the opportune time for it.
Well, I'm gonna pick on Bob and Clay here for a minute. Because he went on a vacation, he drove all over the states, whatever, did the Four Corners thing. He pulled off and got an oil change.
Just thought it'd be great. I'll get one when I'm in.
Knock one out, stretch my legs, take a little break from driving, and when they changed the oil, they double gasketed the oil filter, so it doesn't make a seal. So he was out of oil by the next shop he got to. Oil change is not one of those things you got to get done before you leave town. Neither is a transmission service. People always want a transmission service before they leave town, but do that 2 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah, take your time. And I tell people that want to come in, we can't get you in for an oil change. What you need is all the things that go along with the oil change. We need to check your tire pressures, check the tire depth, how much tread life is left on the tires. And you want to have 3/32 of an inch probably. You used to use the penny to check the tread. You put the head in, Lincoln. I don't know. I got my names all mixed up.
George
here.
Washington is in the quarter now.
So we
use the quarter now because that's 3/32.
Yes, we use the quarter. So you want to do that. And these are simple things that you can be checking, a lot of people. Or if you have a relationship with a shop, it's, at my shop at Virginia Auto Service, pop in any time. We'll check things for you, like the wipers, but not just the wipers. Try your I use just water in my window washer squirter around town. But last time I did that, I left town, and it wasn't frozen. There was enough temperature under the hood, but as soon as it hit the windshield, it was a sheet of ice on my windshield. So you want to make sure you have the proper antifreeze solution for the windshield washers.
Well, you mentioned batteries. How long do batteries last?
In Arizona, depending on the battery, 3 years tops, 30 months typically.
So if you got a 2.5-year-old battery and you're going on a road trip, maybe it's a good time to throw a fresh battery in it 2 weeks ahead of time.
Or at least 2 weeks ahead of time. But at least have it tested. We have the equipment. We can tell you if the battery's bad right now, and it can also do some predictive testing and analysis and let you know what the status is of the battery. That's one thing. And not just the battery, though, but even the dirt and corrosion on top, you can get all that stuff cleaned off. If you want to do that at home with baking soda and water, or, we can do it in the shop if it's dirty. But even that dirt and acid on the top can cause a parasitic load on the battery.
Well, maintenances definitely don't have to happen before you leave. You mentioned if you do break down, you want some stuff in the car with you. So if you got to sit on the side of the road for a little while, snacks. You said snacks because of the little kids in your car, and best way to shut them up is to stuff.
Here, put this in your mouth.
Yeah. Chew on that for a while.
Chew on this loaf of
Not
bread.
sugar snacks.
Well, snacks for a couple reasons. Like you said, David, we had a couple years ago. We drove up to northern Nevada. On the way back, outside of Kingman, we were stuck. They closed Interstate 40. We're stuck on the side of the road for 90 minutes. You go crazy if they don't have something to eat, let alone if you break down and, God forbid, you're stuck somewhere overnight or something. You'd probably definitely want to have a snack. I could probably live a little longer than most.
Roadside. You're going to survive, I'm pretty sure. I've got Matt is totally bald. There's no hair on his head. His brother came with him today, who I've never met, and there's no hair on his head either. I'm looking across the...
You've got it all over your back and neck, I see.
I guess I could, donate some hair. Maybe that would help out. But
yeah. Well, one of the other things, and you, again, Dave, you wouldn't need this if you worked out. I would probably need a blanket in the car where you, like the woolly mammoth.
Yeah, no blanket.
You wouldn't need a blanket.
I can survive.
But you might want to have we all have cell phones. Make sure you bring the charger, so if you do break down, you can get a hold of somebody maybe. Flares or a way to start a fire. If you're broken down, changing the tire somewhere. I like the LED ones. They don't take up any room. They're nice and bright. You can throw them somewhere in the car, but you can't start a fire with those if you needed one.
Roadside kit. Good roadside kit is a good idea to have in the car.
What's in it?
Flashlight's a good thing. Gloves is a good thing.
Gloves for sure.
Flares is a good thing. Those are good for starting fires, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
You got to start a fire. I'm trying to think what else is in
Chain.
there. Chain.
The problem is,
what are you going to fix anymore on the side of the road? You're not necessarily going to fix anything.
No, there's nothing that. In 99% of the time, I would say there's
not much you're going to fix on the side of the road.
You see people, I hate to laugh, but you see them broken down, and the typical guy, honey, I'll get out, check it, opens the hood, and he's got a late model car, standing there scratching his head, and I'm thinking to myself, because I'm going the other direction, there's not a damn thing you can do. I wouldn't even bother to get out of the car and pop the hood, probably, because I know there's nothing I can probably do either in most cases.
Just stand there, look like you know what you're doing. You got to lift that hood just to see if there's something simple. Maybe I was a Jeep tour mechanic while I was going to school.
Play the part.
And one of the Jeeps broke down. One of the U-joints broke down. And the guys were all cowboys. They wore guns and they were just cowboys, big belt buckles, the whole 9 yards. And this Jeep rolls back in.
All hat, no cattle.
The guy used baling wire to fix the U-joints. The U-joint was broken. Baling wire made it all the way back home. It was a pretty good idea, but you're probably not going to do that. So put baling wire in your roadside kit.
Yeah, right. Well, and I said chain, but then if I have a chain in the back of my truck, I don't want anybody to know it's there, just like jumper cables, because I don't really want to, not that I don't want to help people.
You're not helpful?
I'm not breaking my car for you. and same thing with jumper cables. If you've got them and somebody needs help and you're going to help somebody with a jump start, you need to be careful and make sure you don't damage your car. Hook those cables up, follow the order.
How you do it. And the other one we talked about this before the show is a jumper box.
I like jumper boxes much
better. Way better. Less opportunity for wrecking stuff.
Yeah, the thing with getting a jump start on a late model car, it doesn't matter if you're the dead car or you're the jumping car. Turn on your headlights, and what the headlights will do in a lot of cases, they act as the surge protector. Because if you get a spike of electricity without the headlights on, that could find its way to the computer and stuff. So that's a one little tidbit of info to help you out.
Well, when we come back, we've got open lines at 602-277-5827. We're talking about anything about your car, 602-277-5827. You can also text us at 411-923. And later on in the show, we're going to be telling you about the top 10 Christmas gifts for the automotive enthusiasts. You're listening to Bumper to Bumper Radio.
There have been so many changes in Phoenix over the past couple of decades, but one thing has not changed in all that time. Kurtz. Family owned and operated, Kurtz Auto Repair has been reliably servicing and repairing vehicles for Valley car owners for over 24 years. Just one block east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue in Bell, Kurtz has done it all with a perfect Better Business Bureau record. For service, call 602-588-2878 or check them out online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurtz.
It's really coming down now, and that little voice is saying shoulda, coulda, woulda. You meant to call Kaiko Roofing last storm, but you didn't, did you? Now it's raining cats and dogs, and Mr. Shoulda, coulda, woulda is watching a puddle form on the ceiling. If the roof on your home or business is over 10 years old, get rid of shoulda, coulda, woulda. Call Kaiko Roofing at 602-944-4600 for a free checkup today. At Kaiko, we install peace of mind with the finest materials and the most skilled workers, all backed by the owner's pride guarantee. Flat, foam, tile, or shingle, Kaiko handles them all. From a small leak to a complete new roof, Kaiko has you covered. Since 1994, Kaiko has repaired or replaced tens of thousands of Valley roofs. Over 50% of our business coming from referrals or repeat customers. In fact, over 98% of our customers say they would refer us to a friend. For more information and financing options, go to KaikoRoofing.com. Kaiko Roofing. We're crazy about quality.
We loved our Prius, but 8 years later, it had lost its zip and fuel economy. The dealer told us the only answer was to replace the battery to the tune of $4,000 to $6,000. Ouch! Then we found the hybrid shop at Good Works Auto Repair. For a fraction of the cost, they conditioned the battery like new. The zip is back, and we're once again over 40 mpg. We're ecstatic.
A hybrid owner's dream come true. Check out the hybrid shop at goodworksautorepair.com.
This is Bumper to Bumper, News Talk 92.3, KTAR.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio here along with Matt Allen, and we are talking about your car, getting ready to go on a road trip. And the other thing is, some cars are good A to B cars. The car's 15 years old. It's fine around town, but it's not designed to drive back and forth between here and New York. So if you are making a road trip, sometimes just go rent a car. Make sure there's no extra charges for taking it out of state, but go rent a car. You don't see a rental car with too much more than 20 or 30,000 miles on them.
Oh, never. Usually I get them in they're sub 10,000 usually.
These things are like brand new, so take a rental car. You get a minivan for $48 a day.
Talk about being that guy. Can you imagine the wrath that you might get being broken down? Honey, I checked. Yeah, we're good. Don't worry about it. We'll save that $100 on the rental car. Be a bad day in my household,
right?
If we ended up stuck in a tow truck. So just the peace of mind.
Yeah, if you got areas for concern, or your car does break down right before you're headed out of town, you don't trust it yet, take a rental car. Easy way to go.
Well, the other thing too, maybe you take the little 4-door family sedan, but you've got the gifts and it's cold, so we've got extra clothes. Maybe we're going skiing. Now we've got this car pushed to the limit.
Mm-hmm.
Get the minivan, rent the bigger car, rent the town car. Treat yourself a little bit, right?
Right. Well, Matt's buddy Pascal is here, and he was saying during the break, just make sure all that stuff is tied down, because you're driving the SUV, you got to slam on the brakes. Next thing you know, you get hit with something from the back seat. The second accident, bolted down.
Well, the other thing too is people get a false sense of security with four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive doesn't stop you any better. It may help you go better depending on where you are, and it definitely will if you're on a snowy road. But don't make the mistake either. Road closed, just like the water.
I got four-wheel drive. Yeah,
we can get through there.
Then you're going to wish you had that blanket when you break down or get stuck. So up first this segment, let's go with Carl in Phoenix on a 2009 Ford Fusion. Go ahead, Carl. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Actually, Dave, he's not. We've got Paul up. I pushed the wrong button. So, Carl, you're going to hang on a second. And Paul in Sun City with the 95 Caddy. What can we help you with?
Okay, first, before I get into the car, I would like to know what jump box that you recommend. I had two. and I paid about $80 for them, I think. And they were good for a while. I usually ended up jumping other people's cars, but that was fine. And I know they drain and stuff, but sometimes the lights wouldn't work, so you wouldn't know, or the whole thing wouldn't work after a while. So I was wondering, can you give me a recommendation on a good box and brand?
Yeah, Paul, I don't know the brand of them, but I just picked some up at my shop at the Batteries Plus, and they're good. And all those jumper boxes really are, they're a plastic or composite box, and then inside of them is a motorcycle battery. Or I've seen it looks just like a motorcycle battery, or a battery you might have as a backup for an alarm system or some computerized thing on the. You're passing me notes.
You can't pass notes to Matt always on the air. He just
some
squirrel.
Some other computerized device. So anyway, I like the one at Batteries Plus. You can probably get them at Harbor Freight. You can probably find them online in some other places. And then, Paul, did you have a second question?
Yeah, that
Okay.
was the big one. But the other one is I got this old Caddy, and I love it to death. I know you shouldn't be, have emotions when it comes to metal, but I just love the ride on it. It's got some issues, but I don't have a lot of money to deal with it. It's got a slow oil leak, and so I'm dealing with that simply by making sure my oil levels are good, and it's a slow leak. Is there any upside to making that better, or is it just something, if it's just a slow leak that doesn't seem to impact in the between oil changes very much, just let it go? I know on one of my other caddies that I had, I spent like $1,000 for them to seal and stuff, and it didn't seem to make the car last any longer. I just need your feelings on that.
Right. Well, that I think that's where a relationship with the shop comes into play, and you can ask them, show me this oil leak. I like to do the show and tell at my shop. Go out, look at it so you can fully understand. You could probably gauge on that 95 Cadillac by looking at the ground. That one's not going to be one that has a bunch of shields underneath it to protect it. Look at what your garage looks like. And then ask the shop, ask the technician or the service advisor, is there anything else happening because of this oil? One, is it low between services? And if it's not, I think that you already answered your question as to whether how not necessary, but how high in the priority scale is that leak, or is it causing damage to anything else? Dave?
Well, yeah, there's annoyance leaks, and if it's not, I mean, you're not losing more than a half a quart in the case of between oil changes. It's going to be annoying on your driveway, but get a good pan and check your oil regularly. The other thing I think about with leaks, are they annoyance leaks or are they problem leaks? It depends on how much oil the component holds.
True.
So if you have a transfer case leaking, for instance, it holds 2 quarts. Any leak is a big leak on a transfer case. But an engine that holds 5 or 6 quarts, it's not going to be the end of the world if it goes a half quart low over the course of 3,000 miles.
Yeah, and I think he might have the North Star engine in that Cadillac. That's
spendy one to fix leaks on.
They can be expensive. So, Paul, thanks for the call. Carl, I've got to figure out if I can push the right button this time. Carl in Phoenix on the Ford Fusion. What can we help you with?
Yes, whenever I'm driving my Ford just on the highway, and I give it a little bit gas, just to maintain speed, the car starts jolting, almost like it's misfiring. Can't quite figure out what's going on.
Dave?
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, first thing that came to my mind was misfire before he said that. It's misfiring. It may not set. Sometimes we see these cars come in and it's jerking on the freeway. That's when you're going down, the transmission is all settled in, locked up, and you're driving. And anytime the engine misfires, you feel it through the whole truck, truck or car. And you go into the auto shop, they'll scan it, they won't see a misfire code. They'll say, no, it's running great.
Well, and you don't need a code to be able to figure out how to fix a car either. I mean, we can go in and we can count misfires depending on which scan tools you have. If you have the factory equipment, you can go in and see exactly how many times each cylinder is misfiring. Excuse me, but I looked at you, Dave, because so many times when we talk about misfire problems, it actually ends up being a transmission problem. I was thinking torque converter. It's just the first thing that came to my head because that seems to be the answer lately.
It's a job a week at my shop. Someone brings me a car, and it's doing exactly what you're talking about. It's kind of jolting and what I would call stuttering. And when they're driving on the road, and they think they've got a transmission issue. And many times they went and saw their mechanic, and the mechanic said, oh, it sounds just like a transmission or torque converter issue. we get it in our shop and we find it to be a misfire. And it's not a misfire where it's high enough in the misfire count to actually trip a code. So a lot of times people will brush it off and they won't really see it, rather than sit there and just lightly load that motor at a stop and just see if you can get one of the cylinders to start missing, or a coil to break down, or plug to break down, something like that. So thanks so much for the call. What else road trip wise, Matt, do you think people should keep in mind?
Well, keeping the one thing that we talked about, and again, Pascal here was saying, is keeping the fuel tank full. I'll be the one to stretch, and I'll say, well, I know it's, I can make it to this gas station. I've made this road trip several times before, and every time I pull in there, the fuel light comes on just before I get there. Well, maybe you want to run on the top half of the tank. You do get broken down. You do get in the shutdown.
Well, I always make wrong turns and I get lost, so you want to have extra gas to spare. We got a lot of good texts with some good ideas for stuff to have in your car on road trips, things not to do. When we come back, we've got open lines at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You can text us at 411-923, and we've got that shopping list.
Hi, this is Greg LaFonsi of Automotive Diagnostic Specialties. Long name, right? But we have a short, simple goal. Customer satisfaction is our number one priority, and everything else takes care of itself. Bumper to Bumper Radio approved. ADS is a family-owned and operated state-of-the-art repair facility that has an expert staff that for the second straight year has earned the coveted AAA Top Shop Award as one of the best shops in the nation. Just east of I-10 on Chandler Boulevard. Find us at automotivediagnosticspecialties.com.
Arizona Biltmore is filled with hundreds of historical moments and traditions. Did you know Irving Berlin wrote White Christmas as he lounged poolside at Arizona Biltmore Resort? Make your own memories at Arizona Biltmore this year with 2 legendary golf courses, 8 swimming pools, 7 tennis courts, a luxurious spa and fitness center, and 6 on-site restaurants. You never know how the Arizona Biltmore might inspire you. Experience it all with the brand new presidential membership for access to luxurious amenities at the golf club and resort. Visit azbiltmoregc.com for more information.
After 14 years in the States, mostly spent here in the Valley, I was getting bloody frustrated with the treatment I was receiving from dealerships on the maintenance and repairs of my vehicles. I finally reached out to a friend who told me I was crazy not to try Virginia Auto Service. Being a mom with a busy schedule, children, and work, I took my friend's advice and gave Virginia a try. What a refreshing difference. From the first step through their doors, their staff was accommodating and understanding. Robert explained in plain English what I needed to have done, but also why. They went out of their way to make sure that the experience was convenient, with door-to-door shuttle service by a lovely man named Bergie. Several years and a number of visits later, the experience is always the same. They tell me what is necessary right now and what is not. This is Victoria, and I don't know much about cars, but I do know that from boot to bonnet, Virginia Auto Service knows how to take care of their customers. Check them out online at virginiaautoservice.com.
Are you trying to buy a Christmas gift for that car aficionado in your life? Well, Matt and Dave have this year's top 10 gifts for the automotive enthusiast list next on Bumper to Bumper Radio. I'm Cooper Rummel, 92.3 KTAR.
Hi, I'm Scott, General Manager with Whitey's Auto Repair here in South Scottsdale. We built a reputation for quality auto service and repair for over 45 years, and our customers have come to trust us for our recommendations. We value that trust, and that's why when it comes to transmissions, for the past several decades, we have been recommending Tri-City Transmission. They have yet to disappoint. I feel so strongly about it, I wouldn't go anywhere else. Why would you? Google them online today at tricitytransmission.com. Go where the pros go. Tri-City Transmission.
Hi, this is Derek Hall with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Ever dream of winning $1 million? How about a new Mercedes and other randomly drawn prizes? Participate in the Waste Management Phoenix Open's new Going for the Green Closest to the Pin contest, and you can win these and more just for entering. The contest runs Friday, December 13th through Sunday, December 15th at 6 Valley Golf Courses. One winner will advance to the Waste Management Phoenix Open's Shot at Glory on the 16th hole during tournament week. All proceeds benefit the First Tee of Phoenix. Visit WMPhoenixOpen.com to find out how you could win $1 million.
Ouch! Being out of tune is no fun, and maybe even a little painful. Hi, this is Lee Weatherby.
owner of Accurate Automotive in Mesa. At Accurate, we are a family-owned and operated one-stop automotive repair shop that specializes in building long-term relationships that are in tune with your needs, not ours. We've been recognized nationally as one of the top shops in the country, but for over 20 years, our priority has stayed focused on providing quality automotive service and repair at a fair price. I invite you to come in and see the difference an in-tune relationship can make for you and your car. With our free courtesy inspection, a $49 value, we feel it is well worth our investment in you because we believe good long-term relationships start early with your first walk through our doors. Accurate Automotive, home of friends serving friends, just off Broadway and Robson in Mesa since 1992. For more information, check us out online at AccurateAutomotiveAZ.com today.
You're listening to Bumper to Bumper on News Talk 92.3 KTAR.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I'm Dave Riccio. He is Matt Allen. We've got open lines at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR, taking phone calls in regard to your car. Anything you want to talk about your car, give us a call. We'll try to answer it. If not, like I said, we'll make something up. And we've got a couple interesting texts here about...
Some of these are interesting, Dave.
One says, carry a candle in your car, and if it'll keep you warm, let it burn. And then peanut butter cures hiccups. So I don't quite know what to do with that. But
I'm not sure. Dave, there was another one that somebody tried to jumpstart a car with a jumper box, and it was dark, and they couldn't see, and they hooked up the cables backwards, and want to know if they fried the solenoid. I'm not quite sure. Maybe if it was a Ford, or maybe someone's referring to a starter solenoid. If you did it quick, you might have got lucky and not done anything. So you may have the problem that you started with where you needed the jump start and maybe created another one. Typically when that happens, you really don't blow a bunch of stuff up, so to speak. We usually find the main fuse. They call it a maxi fuse. It's either 60, 70, maybe 80 amp main fuse to the fuse box.
I'm thinking 82 amp. But
82 amp, yes.
We also got one here on a 2013 Chevy Silverado. I think he's got 3,500 miles on it. Did his first oil change, changed over to synthetic fluid, and his car still says it needs an oil change. The car doesn't know he changed oil.
Yes.
He's asking, is it because of the type of oil is different, so the car's not recognizing it? There's no necessarily sensors in the engine that are checking the capacity of the oil life or anything like that, but that's just an estimation program that based on average operating temperature, stop-and-go driving, how you drive the car, when that oil's going to be worn out.
Yeah, there's a whole algorithm there. So unless you reset that oil life indicator to know that it's got new oil in there, it's got no way to know. So probably what I would do is just go ahead and reset it, determine when you're going to do your oil changes. I guess I would do it every 5,000 miles if that were a new truck. I like to get, however you get there, get on that 5,000 mile interval. Then it's 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. Reset the light when it comes on, but other than that, I would typically just ignore it if you're going to stick to that time frame. Otherwise,
yeah, I use synthetic oil myself only because I plan on abusing the heck out of the car. I mean, I just full throttle or no throttle, slam on the brakes.
You weren't quite sure what you were allowed to say there for a second.
I had to filter. We've got Kevin and Paul, and then we've got Nick, and he's got a question about shop supplies, and that's a hot topic there in the automotive business. Go ahead, Nick. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, Dave and Matt. Nice to talk to you. As an automotive jobber for 30 years in California, I have a question. When I got out of the automotive business in 95, our shop labor was $22 an hour, and we had no such thing as shop supplies. And now you take your vehicle to a shop, independent or dealership, and you always end up with a bill for shop supplies. And I just had the back of a driver's seat replaced at a local GM. It's a leather seat. I poked a hole in it. I wanted a new one. $275 in parts and $27.50 in shop supplies. And I questioned that, and they said, well, they charge everybody 10% of the parts. And it just kind of ridiculous. What shop supplies can you use when you put a new leather slide a seat cover over, besides a little bit of soap to wash your hands when you get done?
Right. Well, I think,
but everybody pays it.
Right. In some cases, I think there's times, and we do it in our shop, where there's somebody has to go away from policy and what the computer program says and apply some discretion. And we do it all the time. There's certain jobs where it just doesn't make sense, where there might be a shop supply or even an environmental handling fee or anything like that. But I think in the modern era, it's something that everybody does. There is an immense amount of regulation, insurance, with handling of environmental fees, shop supplies, same thing. We go through oodles and oodles and oodles of different shop supplies, and it's miscellaneous stuff that we may, hose clamps sometimes, cleaners, fluids that we don't charge for. If we had to itemize all the stuff that we might use on a particular service job, you'd add another page to your invoice, and they'd be, 40 and 90 cents and $1.25. You'd add 20 more line items to an invoice. So,
and I think shop supplies started showing up on invoices maybe somewhere in the early 90s.
Well, I remember, late 80s, early 90s, when you started seeing computers in the shop.
Right.
That's what some of the computer salesmen in the auto shop management software writers, that was kind of their way to get in. So you can buy this computer and see in this program we've added here 3% shop supplies. So that right there pays for this system. That was their selling tool. But it's in some cases it's not. It gets out of proportion on some cars, and but it's a fee that's there for very good reason. It is expensive to run a repair shop.
Matt and I go round and round about this topic. We don't charge shop supplies. It's the money or the income is still there on the invoice. Whether you spell it out or don't spell it out is really the difference. To me, I always felt like it feels like a nickel and dime charge, even though it's a real charge and there's real shop supplies that go into it. I think it can rub people wrong, and then some people it doesn't rub wrong. But like in your case, you got a seat fixed. Really, to take a seat out, put a seat in, 4 nuts and bolts, whatever. Did I really have shop supplies? So it's like paying tax. You pay for everybody.
Well, it's I guess if somebody called and told you the hamburger was $9 and you paid $9, and then you got the bill and you saw, you saw it broken down, ketchup and lettuce and mustard, and then just cleaning the oven was factored in there, but it was separated. It just tastes different. It feels a little different.
A little different. It's my saying that do you pay for the napkins at McDonald's? You don't, because they're just figured in the price of the burger. That's my thing, and that's where the nickel and dime thing comes from for me. So appreciate the call, Nick. Hopefully that educate everybody on shop supplies and why they're charged or not charged. We're going to go with Kevin in Chandler on a 1997 Honda CR-V. Go ahead, Kevin. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Good morning, gentlemen. Show's fabulous, advice priceless. My drive line broke on my 97 Honda CR-V, which is an all-wheel drive, so instead of replacing it, I took it off and went from an all-wheel drive to a front-wheel drive. Well, that hurt the transmission in the front.
It should not, the way a CR-V works. I mean, it just, basically the transmission is what it is. They just bolt on this thing called a side gear. It's not really you could call it a transfer case if you wanted to, but it's bolted right on the side of the transmission, and the right front axle runs through it, and then you've got a drive shaft going to the rear. I'm not sure it's good for that side gear, but I think it'll continue to work as long as nothing's stopped. There's always baling wire, though.
Is that a pretty sophisticated transfer case or side box in that? And there's BMW and some of the other all-wheel drive models. They're applying different slip, if you will, or different levels of lockup on that transfer case.
I would say on a 97 Honda, it's so big, archaic. It literally just is an angle gear. There's not much there, no brains. On some of the later model stuff, hey, we're applying it more or less depending on the needs of the car based off speed sensors at all 4 of the wheels. But on the CR-V 97, you can run with it, without it.
Yeah, and some of those drives, they're not real popular. You don't see them fail a lot, and they can be expensive to
fix.
To fix, yeah,
for sure. Thanks so much for the call, Kevin. We're going to go with Paul in Prescott, and we've got open lines at 602-277-5827. Go ahead, Paul. 2003 Dodge Ram 2500. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hey, thanks, guys, for taking my call. I've got an 03 Dodge Ram 2500. It's got the 5.7 Hemi in it, and it keeps giving me fan clutch noises, first, second, third gear at higher RPMs, and then when it shifts into overdrive, it seems to mellow out and not be so loud. but I've replaced the fan clutch twice, and I still have this problem. And then if I drive down to Phoenix, it goes away also. It doesn't, the fan clutch slows down and works like it should. But up here in the higher altitude, it doesn't seem to work right.
Now, when you say fan clutch noises, I'm assuming you're saying like when the fan clutch would lock up in a hot weather condition where you get that loud whirling noise of the fan from under the hood?
Exactly.
What kind of fan clutch are you buying that you're replacing it with?
I don't know. I just go to the auto parts store and I got one, and then I put the first one was the factory one, and I took that one off. That was completely locked up. And then I bought an aftermarket one, and I couldn't tell you what brand name they were.
So, but at least you do know the original equipment one that you bought, the factory one, was locked up.
Completely.
Okay. So we didn't fix something that was unnecessary. I would beginning to be wondering if I had a good quality fan clutch. If you got it at the local Acme Auto Parts or...
That's the thing I'm thinking of. Some of these aftermarket fan clutches, they have what we call as a hot soak problem. So the vehicle gets nice and hot. You're driving it, you shut it off. Well, it's still nice and hot, so all the fluid is on one side, and then it gets closed. The valve inside there that moves the fluid from one side to the other, it closes back up. So when you start it back up in the morning, it's still pulling like it's still hot, even though it's cool out. So I'm just an OE fan clutch believer. I'm not a fan of the aftermarket stuff.
Well, is a fan clutch another one of those things that can give you weird transmission sensations and feelings, and that's probably why you're like that. You've probably been bit enough times with the aftermarket clutches.
That's exactly what I mean. Summertime, we get people, rolling in. My transmission's slipping because the engine is roaring heavier than it normally is, and you got to put a lot more gas in it to make it go because you have the extra load of the fan. And with that going on, we sell a lot of fan clutches at the transmission shop. Good news and bad news. Bad news is you need a fan clutch. Good news is you don't need a transmission.
Right. So what would you do? I guess I'd go to the dealer, get an original fan clutch, or go back to where you bought that one. Try and find out where that is in the quality scale. It should be the most expensive, the best one that they possibly could have. And if it's not that one, then you want to go to the dealer and get an OE one.
Yeah, and be careful of the heavy-duty ones because the heavy-duty ones can cause issues. Because the heavy-duty, you want more fan pulling, and you don't necessarily... Whatever the factory design is fine with me. As we promised, I've got Santa's top 10 Christmas lists for your automotive enthusiast. Until your friend Pascal came in here and blew holes in my list, I was feeling pretty confident about it. But I got there's a few selfish ones in here because I know my wife is listening. So, honey, take notes. Number 10, I don't think you can go wrong with number 10, is a good tire gauge. You got to get a good tire gauge for a stocking stuffer if you got an automotive enthusiast in your house. If he's got one already, he won't mind having two. That's just
or a digital one. And if you're looking for a good one, you're driving around town, start looking at auto repair shops. When you see a Snap-on truck or a Matco tool truck or one of those guys, pop in. You don't want the $1.99 one in the can next to the cash register.
In the counter at Walgreens, it's probably not going to work out so good. So this was number 9 is a good one. Pascal's idea, I think, or maybe it was Bob's.
That was mine.
Your idea? No. Oh, yeah, you stole it off of somebody else's site. But automotive magazine subscription. I mean, that's pretty sexy. I wouldn't mind getting that for Christmas.
Like Road and Track or
Road and Track, Car and Driver. So that's a good one. At number 8, we've got an automotive detailing kit. So I'm going to buy my wife one of those so she can detail my car.
I've got one of those. That's my debit card when you go to the car wash.
So another one we mentioned, and maybe you got to get this one before Christmas. Like, you ever open up Christmas gifts on Christmas Eve? I know we were allowed to open one when I was a kid.
Pajamas.
Emergency roadside kit with a flashlight. Flashlight was one on the top 10, but I didn't have room for it, so I stuffed it in with the roadside kit.
With the kit, yes. And what should be in that? Well, we talked about what should be in the kit. Maybe some flashlight, jumper cables, all kinds of little gadgets.
Well, when we come back, we're going to finish the last 6, 602-277-5827. You're listening to Bumper Radio.
It's really coming down now, and that little voice is saying shoulda, coulda, woulda. You meant to call Kaiko Roofing last storm, but you didn't, did you? Now it's raining cats and dogs, and Mr. Shoulda, coulda, woulda is watching a puddle form on the ceiling. If the roof on your home or business is over 10 years old, get rid of shoulda, coulda, woulda. Call Kaiko Roofing at 602-944-4600 for a free checkup today. At Kaiko, we install peace of mind with the finest materials and the most skilled workers, all backed by the owner's pride guarantee. Flat, foam, tile, or shingle, Kaiko handles them all. From a small leak to a complete new roof, Kaiko has you covered. Since 1994, Kaiko has repaired or replaced tens of thousands of valley roofs. Over 50% of our business coming from referrals or repeat customers. In fact, over 98% of our customers say they would refer us to a friend. For more information and financing options, go to KaikoRoofing.com. Kaiko Roofing. We're crazy about quality.
News Talk 92.3 KTAR.
There's a family-owned and operated repair shop in the East Valley that has thrived with a simple formula. Good service at a fair price. That's GoodWorks Auto Repair. Just east of the 101 on Broadway in Tempe, GoodWorks owners Glenn Hayward and Nathan Merrill provide written estimates, pickup and delivery service, and 2-year, 24,000-mile warranties, which have helped them earn an A-plus rating by the BBB. Good people, good service, GoodWorks Auto Repair. A bumper-to-bumper radio preferred shop. Check them out online at GoodWorksAutoRepair.com.
My pappy said, son, you're going to drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln.
Bumper to Bumper on News Talk 92.3 KTAR.
I think it's time for a new song. The song used to be good when Matt actually drove a Lincoln, but it's no fun anymore.
What was that, my 96 town car?
He looked really good in it. He hung his hand over the steering wheel. Actually, it was kind of feminine looking. Anyway.
Kind of like the way you drive your Element.
Welcome back to Bumper to Bumper Radio. I'm Dave Riccio. He's Matt Allen, and right now we're doing the top 10 Christmas gifts for your automotive enthusiast in your house. And, honey, please take notes. We are on number 6, mechanics gloves. There's nothing better than a good set of mechanic gloves.
And that's actually a brand name. That's mechanics with an X. Mechanics. Spelled that wrong there, Dave.
Honey, get that?
Well, it's always good. I have a pair of gloves. You don't.
I gotta have a pair of gloves.
Whether you're broken down or loading something at Home Depot.
You want to change a tire, throw them in the back, more junk in the trunk. So, mechanics gloves. At number 5, we've got a floor jack, and the key here for safety is a good set of jack stands. So, if you've got a hubby that needs a new floor jack and jack stands, that's a great Christmas gift.
Or if you don't like them, you could X out the jack stand.
Right? Exactly. And then up the life insurance.
And get the cheap floor jack.
And number 3, honey, this is where you come in, a gun safe for the car and maybe a rifle rack for the back window of the car. Honda Element with a rifle rack in the back. What do you think of that?
Well, that's true. They do make a little small-sized gun safe to... if you have someone that carries a pistol in the car,
right,
that needs to be secured, especially with the kids around, and don't want anybody to steal it, and hide that baby right in there.
Well, I got to go floss my tooth. Number 2, and I thought it was a great idea, send somebody to driving school. You can get one of those driving school packages. Maybe you got a teenager just learning how to drive. Man, that's a great gift.
Well,
send them out to Bondurant for the day.
Bondurant school, you get the high-performance school, you got the teen driving school, got all kinds of stuff out there.
Number 1, drum roll, please. Gift certificate to Tri-City Transmission. No, that's not what I meant.
Virginia Auto Service gift certificate.
An air compressor. Air compressor would be fantastic. Good air compressor. Not like one of the cheapy ones, from wherever.
Is that enough?
When you got a good air compressor, you can run that guy, and that's when your man status goes up. Your man card gets bigger.
Well, the compressor's good for the car, blowing things out, cleaning, airing kids' bicycle tires.
Pumping up footballs, pumping up bike tires. It's good to have a good compressor on the house.
And if you have a good compressor, have a good spare ball and a good spare inner tube. You know how many tire inner tubes we're like the local gas station at my shop. Everybody going down 7th Street on a bicycle, they pop in to fill those tires, and we say, you can borrow it, but we're not buying the tube. You don't have any tires we don't blow up. They get blown up.
Right.
You can let them rip.
So up versus segment, we're going to go with Carly in Phoenix on a 1999 Nissan Pathfinder. Go ahead, Carly. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
My question, I'm not sure if it's my tires, if it's shocks or what, but I had my rack and pinion replaced about 7 months ago, and I feel, every time I hit any little bump in the road, I feel it hits so hard, like it'll actually take my steering wheel. And, I've gotten several opinions on whether it is tire-related, whether it's related to the rack and pinion replacement, or shocks, or what.
Well, did it start happening? Why did you have the rack and pinion replaced? And then
because that went out. The rack and pinion went out.
On a date? I mean, did it start? Was it leaking, or what was? Do you know why? And then, but hold on a second. And then, did this problem that you're experiencing now, this feeling or sensation, was that immediately after, or did it come sometime during that 7 months later?
I'm not sure. I think it's, I don't know if it happened like shortly thereafter, but I don't recall it being that bad prior to the rack and pinion being replaced.
Okay. And then, well, what I would do is go back to the shop that you had the rack and pinion replaced, which hopefully it's your regular place that's got the history on the car and everything, and ask them to double check that and explain to them what you're feeling. A rack and pinion, I don't think that would cause, like, the thing that got me is take the steering wheel out of your hand a little bit. If there's something in the valving that maybe that wasn't rebuilt or remanufactured right, but it very well could be bad front end parts. You could have a bushing or a ball joint or something. You could, of course, on a 99, if the shocks have not been replaced, that would be something I would definitely be looking at. But we really just need to get that front end checked out, shaken down, what we would call shake down the front end. We're going to just check all the linkages, all the steering components, the shocks, everything, and then we'll know. And it could be one thing that's causing the problem. It could be a little bit of give in 3 or 4 things, that all that adds up to one problem. So it just needs a good inspection.
Thanks so much for the call, Carly. We're going to go with John in Phoenix on a 2011 Dodge Grand Caravan. Go ahead, John. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
When it was really cold, my brake light came on for just a second when first starting out. I checked the brake fluid was just a little bit low, so I was just kind of figuring it was just cold and was going to top it off and not worry about it. But somebody was telling me that because it was black, that it should be get replaced or flussed.
Well, yeah, John, a brake fluid, we have actual test strips that we can use in the shop to test the quality of the brake fluid. And the brake fluid should be flushed occasionally. Most of the European manufacturers will tell you every 2 years that fluid needs to be changed. I used to work at Porsche. When the Porsche Club people would want to come in and go out on the track with their car, it's a requirement for every year to have that brake fluid changed to pass the tech inspection. The American manufacturers don't recommend it so much. But again, there's a test that we can do for that. And you'd be surprised. Sometimes the black coffee-looking brake fluid
not bad.
Fails that test just fine, but we still make the recommendation to change it just based off the visual. But more importantly than that, cars don't, and I'm not concerned about it on your car being a problem necessarily, but cars just don't periodically need brake fluid.
Mm-hmm.
So if that fluid is low, what you've got in there's a float, an electronic sensor, and when the brake fluid goes down, it's going to turn on the light, the red light on the dash, to warn you of the problem. But the reason that's low is because your brakes are wearing down. And as the brakes wear down, the calipers extend out, the fluid has to take up that space. So what that's an indicator of, you might want to have your brakes checked to make sure the front brakes are not worn to the point of replacement.
We had a little bit of follow-up on the text earlier about the synthetic oil on the 2013 Silverado. And his question is really more so, can I go longer without oil changes because I now have the synthetic fluid in there? And that's a good question. And, you could technically go longer. It's going to last longer. That's not why I use synthetic fluid. I use synthetic fluid because if I want to drive it like a race car, it's just better protection. So I do a 5,000-mile interval on my synthetic fluid that I use in my car.
Well, and you're right, Dave. My recommendation when people do the synthetic, they always ask, can I go longer? It's not longer. It's the added protection. You overheat. Maybe you're not going to overheat that brand new car now, but 3 years from now, and the hose blows and overheats, it may be the difference between buying an engine and not buying an engine. And in that case, I would still maybe follow the the oil life monitor, because that car probably uses the Dexos. It's a late model GM. It might already require full synthetic oil anyway.
Well, thanks for joining us. Remember, if you're looking for a good shop, bumpertobumperradio.com. While you're there, be sure to like us on Facebook. If you got a relationship with a great shop, stick with them. Thanks, Peter, for running the dials. Remember never to text and drive. Next week, we're going to fill you in on gonculator valves, dual overhead mouse traps, muffler bearings, high-speed blinker fluid, that's halogen type, of course, and any other car topics you might want to talk about. I'm Dave Riccio. He is Matt Allen. And for a great shop, bumpertobumperradio.com. We'll be back next week.
Hi, I'm Scott, General Manager with Whitey's Auto Repair here in South Scottsdale. We built a reputation for quality auto service and repair for over 45 years, and our customers have come to trust us for our recommendations. We value that trust, and that's why when it comes to transmissions, for the past several decades, we have been recommending Tri-City Transmission. They have yet to disappoint. I feel so strongly about it, I wouldn't go anywhere else. Why would you? Google them online today at tricitytransmission.com. Go where the pros go. Tri-City Transmission.
There have been so many changes in Phoenix over the past couple of decades, but one thing has not changed in all that time. Kurtz. Family owned and operated, Kurtz Auto Repair has been reliably servicing and repairing vehicles for Valley car owners for over 24 years. Just one block east of I-17 at 22nd Avenue in Bell, Kurtz has done it all with a perfect Better Business Bureau record. For service, call 602-588-2878 or check them out online at mycarhurts.com. Gas or diesel, foreign or domestic. If your car hurts, take it to Kurtz.
It sounds like they've just had the accurate automotive experience. We're family-owned and operated and have served the Mesa, Tempe, Gilbert communities for over 22 years. We focus on building long-lasting relationships and, oh yeah, listening to you so that we can understand, meet, and exceed your expectations. One location, 14 bays, 88 years of automotive expertise, and a passionate commitment to customer service and excellence. My name is Lee Weatherby, and I approve this message because it's true. We love what we do, and we want to do it for you. Accurate Automotive, the home of friends serving friends.
Hi, I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave.
We're the car guys from the Bumper to Bumper radio show, heard right here on News Talk 92.3 KTAR every Saturday from 11 to noon.
Bumper to Bumper Radio, it's just like your favorite warm and comfy blanket for all your automotive needs.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Dave. And we're here not just on Saturdays, but 24/7 at bumpertobumperradio.com for all the very best repair and service shops in Phoenix.
Yep, right advice, products, and partners are all at Bumper to Bumper.